Hey class, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about translations and moving functions up and down and left and right. So the first part of this that we're going to talk about is the vertical translations. That's going to be in the form f of x plus k. So if you remember back to function notation, f of x is pretty much the same as the y, and it just represents the total function. So if we think of f of x, that's going to be the same as our y. So in this case, what we're doing is we're taking our f of x, that's the y. The y, we're adding k, which means that's going to be in the vertical direction, or so it could go up, it could go down, because our y-axis is vertical. So think of f of x equals y is going to be vertical, and what we're doing is adding or subtracting to the y. So here's the example we're going to go through. F of x plus 3. So what we're doing is adding 3 to the y. So our k value is 3. So we would say k is equal to 3. Whenever we do this, we're going to add 3 to the y. So whenever you add, you're going to go up. Whenever you subtract, you're going to go down. So we're going to go up here. And then it says how much should we move each point. And then so that's just going to be this value right here of 3. So now what we want to do is we're going to plug the stuff into our table, and then we're going to move our graph up here, and you'll see that they should coincide with moving it up 3 is going to be the same as adding 3 to the y. So if you remember, f of x is equal to y, we're going to add 3 to the y. So my y is -1, so I add 3, so I get 2. If I add 3 to -2, I get 1. Add 3 to -2, I get 1. And add 3 to 1, I get 4. So now what I'm going to do is plot those points up here. So -2, 2 is about right here. 2, 1, or -1, 1, 2, 1 is here. And then 3, 4 is about right there. So draw my graph. So if you notice, I moved everything up. I moved my f of x up 3 units. Okay? So whenever that happens, whenever the value of k is positive, my graph is going to translate up. Whenever my value of k is negative, my graph is going to translate k units down. So in this case, I had that k plus 3. That's going to shift 3 units up. If the k is -3, that means it's going to shift 3 units down. Alright, so now let's talk about horizontal translations. Horizontal translations is all talking about moving stuff left and right. So if you notice, the h is on the inside with the x. And remember, our x-axis goes left and right. So that means that we're going to be moving my function left and right. So little example, we're going to do a little bit of algebra here. So what's happening is this is my parent function, this is my original 2x plus 3, so f of x equals 2x plus 3. I want to move it 2, so I'm doing x plus 2. So what I'm going to do is every time I have my x, I'm going to replace it with the x plus 2, so I substitute this in for my x here. Okay, then we're going to just do a little bit of algebra. So first thing I got to distribute, so I know that that's going to be equal to 2 times x plus 4 plus 3. Then I combine my like terms, so if I get f of x plus 2 is going to be equal to 2x plus 7. Now these are not like terms, so I can't combine them. So this is going to be my function with my translated of 2 units. Alright, so now let's see how that moves my graph. Okay, so original function, let's see what happens if I do 2x plus 3. So this is my x, I substituted in there, that's 2 times -3, which is -6, plus 3 is -3. 2 times -2 is -4, plus 3 is -1. 0 times 2 is 0, plus 3 is 3. And then 1 times 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, so that's how we fill in that graph. Now what we're going to have to do for this one is work a little bit backwards. So it gives me what my y is, so it's giving me what my answer is. I got to do a little bit of math before I can get that one. So change colors here. So in order to get this first one, I know that my answer is equal to -3. So I do -3 is equal to 2x plus 7. I subtract 7 from both sides to get -10 equals 2x. And then I divide it by 2, and so then I get -5. Okay, and then I'll just go through and do the rest of them. So that would be -7. So that is -4. That is -2. And that is -1. Alright, so now what we're going to do is plot my points. So I'm going to plot these first. So -5, -3 is, looks like it's about right there. -4, -1, about right there. -2, 3 is here. And -1, 5. It's about right there. So then we connect my lines there. So that was my translated graph. Go back to my other color here. I'm going to graph this one now. So that is -3, -3, -3, which is about right there. -2, -1, about right there. 0, 3, and 1, 5. So that is my graph there. Okay. So now we talk about whether the parent function was translated left or right. So if you notice, the black one's my parent function, the red is my translated function. So if you look at it straight on, I'm going to the left. So I'm translating it to the left. My value of h is, if you remember, I'm doing +2, so that's actually h is equal to a +2. And then how are the x values in the two tables related? So my x values are related, so I'm subtracting. So if I went from -3 to -5, I went -2 to -4, 0 to -2, 1 to -1. If you notice that pattern, I'm subtracting 2 each time. Okay, and then how are the y values in the tables related? So if you look at my y values, they're exactly the same. So y values stay the same. So this might not make that much sense because this is a +2. You would think that a +2 would translate it to the right. But you just got to be careful and remember that if it's positive and it's inside the parentheses, we're going to move it to the left. If it's negative and inside the parentheses, it's going to move to the right. So that's just kind of something you have to get used to. Now remember, we did all this algebraically, so it should make sense why it is translated to the left. So now we fill in our general rules. If the value of h is blank, then the parent graph is translated to the left. We just did that one. Our h was positive, so we moved it to the left. And that means if the value of h is negative, then we move it to the right. And that is all the translating that we're going to do for this course. All we're doing is moving up, down, left, or right. Whenever you go on to further math courses, you'll be doing a lot different stuff, reflections, and all kinds of stuff with translations. But that is it for horizontal and vertical translations.